Hello everyone, Void here, back again with another Commander deck tech. As always, I would like to remind you that in the description there is a link to tcgplayer.com. That is my affiliate link. By using that, any purchases you make on tcgplayer.com will go towards helping out the channel. Thank you, and I appreciate all of your support. So today's deck tech, we have Niambi, Esteemed Speaker from core set M21. She is just a 2-mana legendary human cleric, 2/1 white-blue. So very affordable, something you should be able to replay over and over again. She does have flash, so it makes it even more convenient to play her. When Niambi, Esteemed Speaker, enters the battlefield, you may return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain life equal to that creature's converted mana cost. And an activated ability of 3 mana, tap, discard a legendary card to draw 2 cards. So what we have here is actually a pretty solid engine considering the mana that you put into it. Just a 2-mana creature that turn 3 is pretty much able to draw you cards and also set up some interesting plays that maybe some people weren't aware of at first glance. Now, white has ways of bringing creatures back from the graveyard, and we want to take advantage of that by discarding some pretty powerful legendary creatures. That being said, I'm not going to completely ignore the first part. When she enters, you can bounce a creature back to your hand. Now, you could reuse an ETB, you could reuse some kind of trigger on cast. It is useful, and she's only 2 mana with flash, so it could be a decent trick to do earlier on in the game. And you do gain some life, which is kind of unusual compared to a lot of the other cards that do something like this. So first we want to go over our lands, and for the most part it is going to be basic mana fixing in blue-white that you've seen before. Command Towers, Azorius Chancery, Hallowed Fountains. But we do have some legendary lands here. We do have a Gaia Reach Sanitarium. We can have everyone draw and discard a card, but it's mostly in here for being a solid legendary land. We also have a Manamo School at Water's Edge, probably the most utility you're going to get out of a land in this deck. We can pay a blue and tap it to untap our Niambi, or really any legendary permanent in here, and we do have some pretty good ones. So taking advantage of the activated abilities is really why this card is in here, and it comes into play untapped. We also have Untadake, the Cloud Keeper. Comes into play tap, but when we are able to tap it for mana, we pay 2 life and add 2 colorless to our mana pool. And we can only spend it on legendary spells. Also a legendary land, so something pretty easy to discard with Niambi. Other than that, we have a Reliquary Tower just in case we happen to draw too many cards. Our ramp is going to be pretty good. We have a lot of big creatures in here, so if we're not able to discard and then reanimate them with the strategy, sometimes we just want to be able to hardcast them at the very least. Mox Amber is a good card because it's legendary, and it sometimes could be dead. Most of the time, though, our commander is 2 mana, so it shouldn't be. We have a Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Azorius Signet, Talisman of Progress, Thought Vessel, kind of the same reason for Reliquary Tower, Worn Power Stone, Solemn Simulacrum, and Thran Dynamo. Just more mana from our artifacts. Gonna make it a lot easier to play our big creatures. So the strategy is kind of all over the place, but it's pretty simple to follow. If it's good and it's legendary, it's probably going to be in the deck. So going over the core of the deck, I guess just generic good creatures that happen to be legendary. Gisela the Broken Blade. We're also playing Bruna the Fading Light, so we can get that combo, and when they flip, they turn into that nasty Eldrazi creature that's pretty powerful. Sakashima the Imposter, the only clone in the deck, but it's legendary. Teferi Mage's Zalfir. You're going to see quite a few Teferis in here, but we're able to keep our opponents from casting spells on anyone else's turn, pretty much only a sorcery. We have Thalia's Lancers, not legendary, but we can get a legendary card, so it's pretty much a solid tutor for the deck. We do have Elish Norn, again nothing specific to synergize with the deck other than just being a really powerful legendary creature. We have Akroma Angel of Wrath, same thing, awesome keywords, really solid creature in combat. Avacyn Angel of Hope, making all of our permanents indestructible, is just insane and always good. And we do have Zatalpa Primal Dawn, Flying Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible, insane keywords. These are the creatures that we really want to bring back, kind of cheat them into play. And the spells we do have to bring them back, or abilities, definitely don't cost 8 mana, so we're going to go over to that now. We have Reanimate. I have 5 cards that are dedicated to bringing back creatures to the battlefield. It's a cool little strategy. We have Breath of Life, so we can return a target creature card from our graveyard to play. This is only 4 mana, so we can get a whopping 8 mana creature back from the graveyard on turn 4. We also have Resurrection to do pretty much the same thing. We have Karmic Guide. It's not legendary, but it's a solid creature nevertheless. And then we do have Bruna, the Fading Light, and Raya Dawnbringer to bring back other creatures. Raya in particular really helps the deck out. If we can just discard legendary creatures just about every turn, we should be able to bring them back with Raya. Raya herself being legendary just makes the strategy even more fun. Now we do have some other things we can do. We have extra turn shenanigans, and that's with Karn's Temporal Sundering and Metamai the Ageless. Since the sorcery Karn's Temporal Sundering is legendary, it does synergize with the deck in that way. But anytime you can take extra turns, and this isn't the only way we can do it, it's just the most direct way, we're going to put ourselves in a really good position to win the game. We also have an Enabler in Thran Temporal Gateway. 4 mana to put a historic permanent card from our hand onto the battlefield is pretty sweet, considering we also have those other ways of cheating those creatures back from the graveyard. So if our strategy with Niambi is not really working out that well, 4 mana we can just cheat an Avacyn into play, or really any historic permanent, but it's mostly just going to be legendary stuff. Speaking of that, we do have Planeswalkers. We have 6 of them. We have Narset, Parter of Veils. We get to look at the top 4, decide what we want, put it on top. We keep each of our opponents from drawing more than 1 card each turn. Always nasty, we have Teferi Time Raveler. Gives our sorceries flash with a plus, and kind of like the creature Teferi, our opponents can only cast spells as if those spells were just sorceries. And Teferi Master of Time, the newest Teferi and probably the deadliest one. If we are able to get to his ult, we get to take 2 extra turns. So with the extra turn strategy, definitely a way that we can win the game. In addition to our big creatures, it shouldn't really be too difficult to deal enough combat damage. We have Teferi Hero of Dominaria. Very good plus, very solid, just draw a card and then we get to untap a couple lands, allowing us to get an activation of Niambi on our opponent's turn if we want it. And the ult is pretty solid removal. In addition to drawing a couple cards, we get to just exile a couple things. Always nice to have that. And Elspeth Sun's Champion, all around, just good value for a white Planeswalker for 6 mana. The plus is always going to be solid. The -3 is decent removal. And the ult is kind of a win-con if you have a decent board presence. And then we have Teferi Temporal Archmage, another way that we can untap our mana. And then we have Teferi Temporal Archmage, another way that we can free up some mana to use Niambi's ability again. Just very solid Planeswalkers. They're all legendary, so we can take advantage of discarding them, drawing a couple cards, in addition to all the other ways that we can interact with legendary cards in the deck. Now we do have some decent card draw in here. We have Rhystic Study. Everybody knows about this card, don't really have to explain it too much. We have Bident of Thassa, legendary enchantment artifact, so it does fit into the theme of the deck, but rewards us for dealing combat damage with our creatures by letting us draw a card. We have Megara the Diplomat, very solid legendary creature, going to allow us to draw cards when our opponents attack with their creatures, and also when they cast their second spells. Teferi's Ageless Insight, also a new card. If you would draw a card except for the first one you draw, in each of your draw steps, you draw 2 cards instead. So it's kind of like a Thought Reflection, very affordable card. If we use it in addition to Niambi, we can then draw 4 cards when we discard a legendary card. If Alhamerit's Archive, kind of the same thing, doubling our card draw, doubling our life gain. Niambi helps us do both. We have Arcanus the Omnipotent, so we can untap him with Manamo, School at Water's Edge. Draw 3 more cards. Very, very good creature. Also an awesome and underrated ability to pay for and bounce him back to our hand. Then we have Nezahal Primal Tide, even more card draw. All around a solid creature, 7/7. Gonna put in a lot of work. We have plenty of ways to draw cards in here. Just an overall pretty good creature that we can blank. Discard cards if we have to. Then we have Jin-Gitaxias Court Augur. Insanely powerful creature. This is kind of one of the ones that if you can turn 3 discard and then turn 4 bring back, you're probably going to set yourself up to win the game. Because you're drawing 7 cards at the beginning of your end step, your opponents pretty much have to discard down to 0. Very difficult to deal with this earlier in the game. We do have some ways to protect our creatures and Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, but we have some other enchantments that are really going to help out the deck. We have Search for Escanta, legendary enchantment. So if we have to discard it, we can discard it. But really going to put in some work because a card that we don't want off the top of our deck, we can just put it into the graveyard. That could be a good creature like a Jin-Gitaxias. We have Oath of Jace and Oath of Teferi. Really sweet, and they interact with our Planeswalkers. Oath of Teferi especially, giving them an extra activation. means that it could be a lot quicker, that we end up with additional turns for Teferi, Master of Time. And just overall, if you have multiple Planeswalkers out and you're activating their abilities multiple times a turn, you get extra turns. I really don't see how you lose at that point. And then we do have a Smothering Tithe, because hey, it's one of the best cards in white, and giving you more mana means you can do more things. So to end the deck, we have Removal and Counter. All pretty simple, what you would probably expect in blue and white. So we have Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, Cyclonic Rift. We have the newer Heliod's Intervention from Theros Beyond Death. So we can pay X to destroy X target artifacts and or enchantments, or have target player gain twice X life. We have Reality Shift to exile a creature, Generous Gift to destroy a permanent, Supreme Verdict, can't be countered, basically 4 mana Wrath, Time Wipe, Board Wipe, but we can return a creature we control to our hand and then destroy all creatures. So it could be our Niambi, and since she has Flash, we can easily just replay her after this on someone else's turn. Urza's Ruinous Blast, on theme Board Wipe, Legendary Sorcery, you exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. Our deck is mostly legendary cards, legendary creatures, enchantments, artifacts, and planeswalkers. We should be getting around this with most of the cards in our deck. Austere Command is going to be overall versatile removal. And now our counters, we have 7 of them: Swan Song, Arcane Denial, Counterspell, Dovin's Veto, Render Silent, and then we have Venser Shaper Savant, which isn't technically a counter spell, but it serves that purpose of stopping our opponents when they want to play a certain spell by bouncing it back to their hand. That way it doesn't resolve. Really good with Niambi, so we can play her after this and then bounce Venser back to her hand. Just one cool way that we can take advantage of Niambi. And we have Sublime Epiphany, brand new card from M21. Overall, I love modes. And it's not just a counter spell, obviously, but you also get to bounce an on-land permanent, you get to create a token copy of a creature you control, and you can have someone draw a card. Overall, incredibly versatile. I mean, these are the cards you look for in Commander anyway. So, that's the deck for Niambi, Esteemed Speaker. A Commander option I don't think many people were looking at. Something I think is actually pretty solid. I was a fan of Wrath Capuchin back in Dominaria. I think Niambi's a little bit more powerful though, because you actually have an engine. It's not just casting historic spells with Flash. So anyway, let me know what you think about the deck. I will have it linked in the description below. Have a wonderful day. Void here signing off.